welcome to College Planning Night. We are so glad you could all make it tonight. We're going to go over kind of more of a brief overview of some really good steps you guys can start taking right now. Like Mr. Nolan was saying, it's never too early to start planning, thinking ahead, thinking about all your options. So our goal for tonight is to go over all of your options, kind of lay it out for you. And then feel free to reach out to your individual counselor, your counseling team for additional resources, maybe one-on-one meeting, planning your future, things like that. But we look forward to just kind of going more in depth and seeing you guys all here tonight. And then we have some awesome reps out here from some colleges like your CAHS-Studio, Palomar, UCSD, GCU, some really great schools, military out there. So feel free afterwards to go ahead and send you guys on out to go chat with them, get some swag, get some more information. So with that, we kind of introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Angie Winkler, one of the counselors here at Studio.
And my name is Henry Cedres. I am a high school counselor at Costco Academy PLC.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Fremstad and I am one of the school counselors at Coastal Academy High School. And hello to our Zoom people too.
Hi, I'm Mary Reiner and I'm also one of the counselors at Coastal Academy High School.
And I'm Brian Dice. I'm one of the counselors here at CAHS-Studio along with Angie.
Awesome. Thank you guys. And then, sorry. There we go. All right, just real quick, I'm going to give you guys just kind of a brief little overview of what we're chatting about today. We're going to go over the A through G requirements for Cal State's UCs, some college exploration ideas, talking about testing, SAT, ACT, college admission process, the financial aid, community colleges, the military, apprenticeships, admissions officers, and recruiters are going to be available after the presentation, like we said. And then kind of like an overview of timeline where you guys should be at right now, depending maybe you're all at different grade levels. But right now is the time to start taking those college prep classes, right? Actively participate in extracurriculars, maybe take those honors, AP courses, challenge yourself with a rigorous course load. That's definitely going to help with some more options as you get towards senior year. You want to start looking at colleges. Also use your available resources to explore your options, especially juniors. You've got your counselors on campus. We've got some great resources for you. We'd love to meet with you individually, go over your goals and your dreams to help you meet those as well. Kind of think about SAT, ACT testing, typically around your junior year or so maybe the senior year. And then narrowing down your choices. So kind of start looking, doing your research, do some college visits, see what's out there, see where you can maybe see yourself attending, kind of get that feel on campus if you can see yourself there, if it has the sports or major you're looking for, extracurriculars, clubs, all that good stuff that you can get involved in. Sort of applying to colleges, that's going to be more your senior year, right, in the fall, going into winter for the 4-year schools, and then you'll apply more in the spring for 2 years, like a community college. Like your Costa, Palomar, things like that. You'll start applying for financial aid by December this year. So it's a little bit postponed, so you don't have to worry about that till more December. And then make those final decisions for your seniors would be on May 1st is the final deadline. So that's kind of like a brief overview of the timeline of where you guys can kind of be at, just kind of mentally noting right now. And then we're going to jump into course requirements with Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Miss Angie, and hello, everybody. I am so excited to be able to do this part with you guys. I am going to start quick because I can talk. So just good evening. So we're going to go over these course requirements. So you might have heard a thing or two about A through G course requirements. Those are kind of the money, like the money ball, basically. These are the classes that you're going to need for graduation, and these are the classes that you're going to need for those UCs, CSUs, Common App applications. So as you can see here, these courses ensure students are prepared for courses, majors, and programs offered across the board. I'm actually going to go ahead and skip to a slide here in a second. You're going to see exactly what I mean. But if you, in the future, when you want to go ahead and go back to this presentation, you can actually click on this little link here too, and you can see the units required and recommended. So on this slide here, you can see the requirements from Classical Academy High School and the UCs and the CSUs. So you'll see the UCs and CSUs have the 2 years of history, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 4 years are strictly recommended. Science related 3 years, language 2 years, ABAPA 1 year, and then for your elective courses, that would be the 60 credits. As our students here know, you do have the community service hours as well, and that accounts for 10 credits if you're here for the 4 years, and then 2.5 credits per year. So the college planning process, so step 1, identifying the best fit school for you. Every school is different depending on who you want to be. As an example, as an educator, maybe a UC school can be too expensive for me. It can be a lot of debt to accrue. So would I go to a CSU? Maybe. Those are some things that you have to take into consideration. I'm not going to go too in depth on that. But I would recommend doing a self-inventory. What are those interests? What are those passions, priorities? What do you want in a university? Do you want a small dorm? Do you want to live somewhere cold? These are things that need to be considered when you choose that four-year university or two-year or community college or apprenticeship program. Perfect. So this kind of goes a little bit more in depth, best fit for you. So depending on what you like, so that's Greek life. Is it financially feasible? Is the size, do you want large or small? Do you want a good location? Do you want an academic rigorous location? It all depends on what you feel is best for your suitable style. Everyone has a different learning style. People who want to get into computer science are going to be different than those who want to get into education. Those are just naturally two different types of schools. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth in just a second. So these are the types of colleges. So specialized colleges and trade schools. So those are like your apprenticeship programs, if you will. Those are the ones that like Palomar, you go to Palomar for a couple of years and go there. And if you want to work in, let's say, drywall, or if you want to help build those UCSD dorms that they just built, there are apprenticeship programs that you can get paid for right on the spot and get going right away. Those are apprenticeship programs. A bit of some of the cons of it is it's more difficult to get those promotions or change those jobs at times. The next on the step would be community college. So that would be your 2-year. So transferable associate's degrees. Some of us just want to save that money and then transfer to a 4-year university, which is completely viable. We as counselors will tell you that's also a great idea. But the cons is that it can usually take you a little longer to earn that 4-year degree when transferred. A 4-year college, bachelor's degree, pros, you get the most options, typically better salaries, and you get that college experience right from the get-go. And the cons, obviously, you have to be admitted to the school straight from high school. Okay, UCs and CSUs. I won't take too much time on this, but there are 9 UCs and 23 CSUs. Some of them we have here today. So when you leave this room, you're gonna be able to go ask some questions. One right away that I like to bring up is you'll see the tuition costs. The tuition costs are different. The UCs are about double of the CSUs. That's mainly because of the type of like environment you're going to be around. So UCs focus on research and theory, preparing students for grad school, and then the CSUs focus more on a hands-on education, preparing students for job and non-research based professions. So like I mentioned earlier, if you want to be an educator, sometimes we gear more towards that CSU route. And like I said earlier, you're gonna be able to go back to this presentation. You're gonna be able to click on these links, but you can research for college search. And another thing I would recommend is also going to your school counselor and ask questions as well. We love building those relationships. But I will now pass it on to Mrs. Rena.
I'm going to see if we can. Sorry, just letting everyone in. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the college planning and application process. So first of all, SAT and ACT. These are something that when some of us were applying to college, you had to take one of these exams. And they've become much more optional in the last few years. The SAT and the ACT are both college entrance exams. Some colleges in the United States require one of these exams. Some colleges make them optional, and some colleges say, no, we don't want them at all. And the trends kind of ebb and flow. So just so you know, it's very important to always know what the admissions requirements are for the colleges that you're looking at. Going to their admissions page and seeing, should I take one of these exams? Will it benefit me? These two exams, the SAT and the ACT, are exams that are offered outside of your school. So you're not going to take them during the school day like the STAR exam. You're going to go to a website, either act.org or collegeboard.org, and you're going to register for them on your own. And you're going to take them on a Saturday. They do cost money, and there are fee waivers available. If your family were to qualify, you can talk to your counselor about that. They also are allowed, if you do have accommodations in school, talk to your IEP team about if that is something, if you could qualify for accommodations for the exam.
A lot of times I get the question, which one should I take? Do your research with this as well. They're very, very different exams. The SAT is more of a reasoning, critical thinking exam. The ACT is more of an achievement, so it actually tests you on what have you learned in science class? What have you learned in social studies? What have you learned in math? So they're very different exams, and we have two different skill sets for those, okay? Just for your planning purposes, the UCs and the CSUs, so the public colleges in California, do not currently accept these test scores. So if you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, I wonder if I have to take these exams, it's kind of, I'm not sure. If you're only looking at UCs or CSUs, you do not need to take them. Okay, so yay. That being said, I will say about 8 years ago, the trend was to get rid of the SATs and the ACTs as a requirement. So colleges said, nope, we're not going to offer these anymore. They are starting to come back. We're starting to see colleges starting to want to see them again. So seniors, we know what you need for your applications. Underclassmen, this may change. Next year at this time, we may be saying something different. So it's always important to keep up to date with what they're saying about SATs and ACTs. If you're ever unsure about how to study for these exams, Google it. There are so many free online study exams that you can use and study materials so you can prepare yourself for these exams. Okay, applying to colleges. Okay, so we like to say that for your senior year, the fall is like what Ms. Winkler was saying, the fall is the 4-year college application season. And in the spring, it is this 2-year college application season. It is very important to stay organized. I always recommend having a Google Doc that you share with your parents. So you look at your list of schools, you look at your deadlines. Those are hard deadlines, y'all. If you don't submit by that date, you can't write the school and say, oopsies, I forgot it's 3 minutes past midnight. They're not going to go for that. It is a hard deadline. So please be sure you know those deadlines. Know the requirements. Are you taking the correct classes that the school requires? Sometimes there's some variety there that we need to look at. Do you need to request your transcript either through Parchment, Common App? There's different ways you can request your transcript through your school. Do you need letters of recommendation? Letters of recommendation are an important part to a lot of college applications. The UCs and the CSUs, again, always have to be a little different. They don't accept letters of recommendation. So again, if you are one of those who knows you're applying to a UC or a CSU, you do not need any letters of recommendation for admission. You may be applying to scholarships later and they may want a letter of rec, but you don't need them for admission. For letters of recommendation, our rule of thumb is to give your recommenders 3 weeks. These are very, very important parts of a college application. If you are looking at a college that has a letter of recommendation, if you think about that, your entire application is what you're putting on there and talking about yourself. Then all of a sudden there's this one component that gets to be, oh, somebody gets to talk on my behalf. That person has a very powerful job. So make sure you're selecting a person who knows you really well, who is prepared to write a good letter, who has time, such as maybe at least 3 weeks to write that good letter. And then I think each of us have a different tool we use called a brag sheet, right? So Mr. Dice, do you still use the Google form for a brag sheet? Yes, I love that form. So there could be a Google form we send you, or maybe I know we have a Schoology link for our brag sheet. So a brag sheet is a form that you will give your recommender that you'll just talk about yourself a little bit. Like, oh, remember I did this my sophomore year, or remember when we went on this field trip together, whatever it may be. It's a way for you to brag about yourself so your recommender knows what to include in their letter, okay? If you're asking for a letter of recommendation, always ask in person. It is a big deal. It is ask in a professional manner and follow up with an email and give that recommender the due date. I must have it in by this date, okay? And then a lot of college applications will have essays or a personal statement. For you, the UCs, it's a PIQ, a personal insight question. Make sure you're working hard on those essays. My rule of thumb is you always have two people reviewing it. So you write it, you have someone who knows you really well, read it. And then you also have somebody who knows grammar really well, read it. My other suggestion that I like to give is to students, lock yourself in a room where no one else is there and read it out loud to yourself. Does it tell the story you want it to tell? Does it flow? Does it paint the picture you're trying to create? Okay, that's kind of awkward. That's why I say go into a room by yourself so no one else has to hear you. Taking a breath. Okay, there are 4 types of applications I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to try to go in detail a little bit, but also kind of breeze through these because a lot of these require conversations with your counselor, and you can go onto the websites and learn more about them. So first of all, there's the UCs, the University of California, so the 9 UCs that we were talking about earlier. This year, their application opened on August 1st. You could submit it as early as October 1st. You must submit it by December 2nd. Okay, so you have through Thanksgiving if you're looking to edit essays and whatnot, or for PIQs. The UC application does take a good amount of time. Not gonna lie, they're selective. They have a lot of questions on there. The PIQs are your opportunity to talk about yourself. Each one of the PIQs is about 350. It can be up to 350 words. So it's kind of like it's not a long essay, but it's not a short answer. There are 8 prompts of the PIQs. You choose 4 that you want to write about. So you choose 4 that can really paint the full picture of who you are. Again, just like the essays, you write them, you have someone who knows you well read them, and you have somebody who knows grammar read them as well. The other rule of thumb I give, and this is often to my students who are really, really focused or fixated on one certain field. A lot of times, kind of like my engineering students. When you're when you're selecting your 4 PIQs, make sure that they also diversify you a little bit. Don't have everything be about this one area that you're really passionate about. That's great, that's wonderful, but make sure you're also showing a different side of you as well, not just the one area that you're really passionate about, okay? There's no letter of recommendation for the UCs. There's no SAT or ACT scores, and there are no transcript or official transcripts required for the UC application. What you do is you actually enter your entire transcript on their application, and then they take that as a self-report. At the end of the year, if you are admitted into their college and you accept that spot into their college, your school will submit an official transcript and they will verify that what you said on your application lines up with your transcript. So it's the honor system, but they do verify that, and I've seen it happen. So make sure that you're very, very honest with those things. The CSU application, its window goes through November 30th. This year, so if you're applying to both types of schools, make sure you see that there is a different deadline. There's no essay, no PIQs, no letter of recommendation, and they do not accept the SAT and the ACT either. So grades are self-reported. So those applications, while they do take time to list all your activities and all the outside activities that you do, they do not take quite as long as they don't have the PIQs. Common App. Just curious, how many of you have heard of Common App? Okay, good. Okay, usually it's a big wide range. So Common App is utilized by almost 300 colleges in the United States. It's kind of the one-stop shop for many colleges. Most of the private schools in California use Common App. And a lot of public schools and private schools throughout the United States use Common App. The nice thing about Common App is you just have to enter a lot of your information just once. They have a single Common App essay that you will write, that you will be able to send to all of your schools. The other thing I really like about Common App is you actually, in the website, you say who you want your letters of recommendation, or your recommenders to be, and you put their email address, and so that's actually how they submit your letters of recommendation. That's how we submit your school reports. And the nice thing is then you can click on your account and see when we've submitted all those materials, so you're not sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if that letter of recommendation got done. Because we know it did, because you can see the time and date that it was downloaded by the school. So there are essays, there are counselors' letters of recommendation. It is up to you to look at the schools that you're applying to see what they require in their application and what their deadline is. You can keep track of the deadlines pretty well when you have Common App and you list the schools that you're applying to. Once you list your schools, you'll also see that there are maybe different supplemental materials that they may also want in addition to that one essay from the main Common App part. And then the fourth type of the application is just the individual school application. So for those of you who are applying to some of the private schools, you may see that you could use Common App, or you can use their own individual school application. These are great as well. They have varying deadlines. It really depends. Materials vary greatly. And it's nice because you can use their site. Here's my recommendation. Because most of the time you will see you can use Common App or the individual school application. First of all, it does not matter which one you use. They're not going to say, oh, you didn't use ours, we're going to be offended. They do not care which one you use. My recommendation, I have two factors. First, which writing prompt do you like better? Because it's your written piece. So see which writing prompt you like better, the Common App writing prompt or their own individual application. And second, sometimes those individual application ones on the college pages, sometimes they're free. So if they say use our application and you'll get a fee waiver, use that one, because applying to college adds up really fast. So that's kind of the 64,000 mile hangover or flyover of college applications. But if you have more questions about that, please talk to your counselor. And last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is for seniors, we're talking to you, juniors, we're talking to you in the spring about this. There are different kinds of application deadlines. The first two you might hear of are early decision versus early action. Early decision, typically the dates for early decision vary between October and November 1st. Early decision is binding. Binding means if I'm applying here and I get accepted, I will go no matter what. Typically, parents have to sign a form saying they understand. Counselors have to meet with the student. They sign a form saying they understand. And by no matter what, I mean no matter what, financially, anything else. It is binding, so the college knows that, okay, if I accept this person, I know they're going to come to me. So just know that that's early decision. Those are for those students who have the dream schools who just need to apply to this one school before they can look anywhere else. Early action, on the other hand, is non-binding. Early action means that you can apply to that school, and it's typically October and November as well. And if you get in, that's great, but you're not required to attend there next year. The benefits of early action is a lot of times they will have a higher acceptance rate, or they may also say, we're not sure if we're going to accept you now, but we're going to wait list you and think about it when we get the rest of our applicants. And also you just look like you look responsible. You look like you know what you're doing, you're ready to go, you have all your stuff in time, you're not working and stressing about meeting this deadline, but like the rest of your friends are in senior year. And a lot of times there may be some scholarships to go with that as well, because the early bird gets the worm when it comes to scholarships. And then the last one I'll talk about are regular decision and rolling admission. Regular decision is that main deadline that you see on the college application page, typically I've seen December, January, February. So that's just the regular decision deadline when all the applications are due by that point. And then rolling admission is one that really varies. So that means the colleges that have rolling admissions means that typically once you submit your application, you'll get notified a little bit quicker if you're in or not. And the rolling admissions will typically go kind of throughout the fall and spring, depending on their class sizes for the next year. And with that, I'll pass it to Mr. Dust.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to go through a few of these slides pretty quickly, but please notice that for these slides, along with other ones that we've been showing you, you'll see different links on them. It's recommended that you go back through this presentation afterward. We have the link for you. We'll also be sharing it online. But there's some great links where you can get a lot more detailed information about what you want. We're just trying to give you kind of the general view for now, and then you can go back and get more details later. For example, when Mr. Henry was talking about the A to G list, just realize that for those A to G courses, those are just required courses for the UCs and Cal States. So if you want to apply to a UC or Cal State, you have to meet those A to G requirements. Okay, and then there's a link on there if you want to look at another college and find out what they require you to take in high school. You can look that up following the link. Okay, and again, many more links on here. So for this one, college athletics, if you are interested in perhaps playing a sport in college, you need to meet some extra requirements. You need to be eligible, just like you need to be eligible in high school. So you need to prove that you're doing well enough in your classes, and you need to prove that you're taking challenging enough classes. So sometimes there's a little more required for the courses you need to take than what we require in order to graduate. So I'd encourage you to look through at the links and the document that's linked at the bottom. All right, step 4, financial aid. I'm not going to talk a lot about this because we have a great financial aid seminar that'll take place on Thursday, November 14 from 6 to 7:30. It'll be at the PO campus. We have a financial aid expert who leads this for us, and she is outstanding. She is a financial aid nerd, I tell her, and she admits that. So she knows a lot about financial aid, but she's also really good at explaining it in a way that actually makes sense for the rest of us. So highly recommend you come to that. I can pretty much guarantee you it will help you financially if you attend, and it will also relieve some stress because you'll understand the process way better. The one thing I would recommend at this point is listed there in the second bullet point. Hardly anybody pays the sticker price for college. When it tells you what it costs to go to college, there's hardly anybody who is paying that amount. Okay? To get an idea of roughly what you would actually pay to go to college, instead of looking at the sticker price, you can use what's called a net price calculator. Okay, if you go online and do a net price calculator for any college, you'll put in information about kind of your grades and so on, and then put in some basic information about you and your family's financial situation. It'll give you a rough idea of what you can expect to pay out of pocket to go to that college. Okay, you can do this for any college. Now, every college is required to have a net price calculator on their website, but they're not required to make it easy to find. So the best way to do it is just to Google whatever college you're interested in and the net price calculator. It'll take you to that and you can get a rough idea. Highly recommended. If finances are an issue for you going to college, which they are for the vast majority of us, highly recommend that as you're figuring out what colleges you might be interested in, that you check the net price calculator to get an idea if it's going to be financially feasible for you. Okay. Just a couple of terms that are helpful with financial aid: need-based aid and merit-based aid. Those are the two main types of financial aid. Need-based is what it sounds like. It's based on your financial need. This is typically going to be grants. Okay, just if you need money to go to college, there's money available, like Mr. Moen was talking about. You know, getting the Pell Grant, the Cal Grant, things like that could be super helpful. Merit-based aid is based on your merit, things that you're good at. So good grades, for sure, but also falling into this category would be athletic scholarships, music scholarships, drama scholarships, if you're involved in community service, stuff like that. Again, just letting you know about some resources that are available to you and encourage you to come back to this slide later. There are some great links, some documents that are referred to in here. I want to highlight just a couple. Halfway down is not a link, but it says to check with parents or students, employers, associations, etc. The vast majority of financial aid, including scholarship money, will come from the college you apply to. Okay, so you'll take care of that in the fall, winter, spring, whenever you're applying to the colleges. There are private scholarships that are available, but most of them are not worth applying for. Okay, there are just way too many people applying for way too few scholarships. The recommendation is you look at, like this bullet point says, check with any employers or any organizations or clubs you have any connections to. Some of you have been involved in the military. The military has some great money available for children of veterans. Okay, so things like that are absolutely worth checking. There's a website there, stfoundation.org. That's just for San Diego County. So those are just local scholarships. So those could definitely be worth applying for. If you want to look for others, you can see them there. And then finally, a great deal out there. You can find some of the best deals for college using the Western Undergraduate Exchange. Okay, it is less expensive for you to go to UC or Cal State as a California resident. Okay, it's going to be way less expensive for you to go to one of those institutions than somebody outside of California. All right. It's also less expensive for you to go to a lot of the state universities in the Western United States. Okay, so think Montana, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and West, all of those states. A lot of the state universities have deals for you because you're a resident of the Western United States. Okay, so if you're interested in, a university in Utah, I've had some students who paid the least amount of money for people going to college, going to Utah State, for example, through the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So you might want to check that out if you're interested in public universities in the Western United States. Realize that for private college universities, it doesn't matter what state you're in. Okay, it's going to cost the same for everybody. But for the public universities, it definitely depends on whether you're a resident or not. It does not like me. All right, the FAFSA, somebody mentioned this earlier, but it's supposed to open on October 1. But the last 2 years have been a little interesting with FAFSA. So apparently this year they're still struggling. It won't open until, they're saying December 1. We'll see what happens. Last year it didn't open until January, but they're saying now starting in December 1. We'll talk a lot more about this at the financial aid seminar. It's a pretty straightforward application, kind of based on your taxes for 2023. The deadline, if you want to qualify for the Cal Grant, is going to be May 2. So if you're applying to colleges in California and you want to be considered for the Cal Grant, make sure you get it done by then. But typically, students' families are going to fill that out sometime December, January, around there. We automatically submit your GPA for that. To qualify for the Cal Grant, you need to complete the FAFSA and a GPA verification. We do the GPA verification automatically for you unless you opt out of that. All right, I'll pass it on to Stephanie.
Thank you. Okay, so we just want to talk quickly here about community college. So we are huge advocates for community colleges. We also live in an area, right, where we have two fantastic local community colleges. We've got Palomar, and for our coastal peeps, we've got Maricosta. So these are not only great options to get an AA or an AS degree, but you can also do certification programs. You can also do your general education program. And so essentially for that, you do not need the SAT or the ACT. So if you're thinking about that option, know that that's there. You can also start with any GPA, right? You don't need a particular GPA to get into a community college. So it can be a great way if high school was pretty challenging, you need a clean slate. That's a great way to start that. And also, this is why community college, especially here in California, is such a huge benefit. How many of you have heard about Promise Grant? Anybody? Promise Grant? Yes. Okay. Promise Grant, you guys, if you hear nothing else tonight, I mean, we've talked a lot about things, but Promise Grant, okay? This essentially allows students to attend their first 2 years of community college for free. So it's a huge opportunity and resource, and we really like to advocate this for our students because college is pricey, and you're doing your general education regardless if you go to a four-year university or to a community college. You're gonna start off doing your general education, right? And so basically what you have to do to qualify for that, there is a bit of an application process, but essentially you have to be a resident of California. So check, most of you are. You have to be a full-time student, check, most of you will be. And you have to complete FAFSA, which all students complete FAFSA each year when they're in college, whether they go to a four-year or community college. So please, 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 when you're thinking about community college, remember Promise Grant. That's any community college in California that will apply to you. So it's a huge opportunity for our students. Something to also keep in mind is transferring to a four-year university, right? When you complete those 2 years, after that, you're gonna go on to a four-year university and you're gonna complete your upper division major requirements. So just some things to look at. And again, you guys will have access to this presentation later to review, but just some things to take note of. This weird terminology, I get see, and then it says general education. That is huge. So oftentimes community college will get a bad rep of, people stay there for forever. Well, if you are following closely this I get see plan for transferring to a UC or CSU specifically, right? This will help you do that. This essentially is like your grad plan for community college. It helps you see what you need to take to the T of making sure you're meeting all those requirements, 60 units before you transfer. So we like to tell our students that is something that you should have printed out, laminated, like on the front page of your binder, whatever it is, on your phone, start. So you are tracking that each semester because again, regardless if you go to a four-year or community college, it's on you students, right? You are now 18, this is your education, you gotta be on it. So another a word that I want you to remember is IGETC. That's your transfer agreement plan if you're thinking of going to UC or CSU after community college, okay? And you, of course, will have access to an academic advisor in college, and they will also walk you through this. But again, you got to be on top of it, making sure you're following that and knowing what you're taking so that you're not wasting time and or resources. Another thing to keep in mind is looking at TAG. That's a program that the UCs have with 6 of the UCs. And I advise you to click on that if you're interested in transferring to a UC right after community college. It's essentially an agreement that allows you to, before you even transfer, have an agreement with one of those UC schools to be accepted into their program after community college. So if you're thinking UCs after community college, research TAG program, okay? All right, I'm going to quickly go here because I don't want to miss anything. Another option when you're looking at community college is CTE, Career Technical Education. And so a lot of the times these will fall under these trades. So art, business, computers, cosmetology, criminal justice, culinary engineering. I'm not going to read the whole thing because that takes a lot, but you guys can see it there. And essentially students can receive certificates and or degrees. Another thing to note is FAFSA oftentimes will also help support if you're going the certificate route. Will support with financial aid with that as well. It also gives students job-ready skills in a short period of time, and those classes might also qualify under the Promise Grant. Remember those 2 years of free tuition as well. So if you're thinking career technical education, both Palomar and Maricosta have fantastic options, and I'd encourage you to connect with your appropriate counselor, who then can get you connected with some of those folks at the community college. So if you're interested in community college, please connect with your counselor though, because it is a fantastic option, saves you a lot of money, and it can still get you to that dream school after your 2 years, okay? All right, I think we're gonna go to military quick.
All right, so last but not least will be military, another really great option post high school. We have some awesome reps out there if you guys do want to go get some more information, chat with them and go over your options. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with the branches, but there's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Space Force. There's active duty or reserve programs. And so maybe you guys have heard about the ASVAB test that is required. That will help determine your military occupational specialty. So basically it kind of determines which opportunities that you will have within the military. So you definitely want to take that test. Local recruiters will help you guys prepare for that. If you have any questions about that, come talk with us, your counselors. We can help you guys get connected with recruiters too. Sometimes on campus, maybe some teachers or staff members have also served in the military. I know on studio, we've got a few security guards, teachers that have served. You can always ask about their experience as well. I'm sure they'd love to share. And so basically the higher the score, the more opportunities you will have on that test. And basically you can earn money for college while you serve your country, which is awesome. So I'm sure you guys are familiar maybe with the ROTC program, using the GI Bill, signing bonuses, things like that. It's kind of a brief overview. And with that, we want to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. Hope you guys found this all very beneficial and helpful. You guys have the packets in front of you with the information. We've had that QR code with the presentation as well. If you need that for an extra resource. Feel free to make an appointment with your counselor with any additional questions. And here's all of our contact information from Coastal, the PL, and Studio counselors. You can also refer to your counseling website for additional resources or reach out to your counselor to ask for those as well. And then if you guys wouldn't mind, real quick, just take one moment to take our brief survey. If you can get your phones out and scan that QR code, that would be awesome. It's just kind of an overview about tonight. Let us know how we did. If you guys have any suggestions for us so we can improve this each year, that would be awesome. So just take 1 minute to do that, and then we will go ahead and release you guys in just a second. Okay, you guys are wrapping up. Just remember, we have some refreshments right out here if you guys would like to help yourself, and then make your way on into the main hall. There'll be about 14, 15 or so reps from different colleges, military. Feel free to walk around. Take your time. You have until about 7:30. Have some great conversations. Ask them about their school. Get some swag. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. Have a great night.